people over the past couple of years have asked me to do transition pictures for someone called Rod Serling. He died in 1975 at the age of 50, very, very young. He was a playwright. He was a screenwriter, and he was most famously, the creator and the host and the producer of a show called The Twilight Zone, which ran for 156 episodes in America beginning in 1959. And it may have aired in Britain as well, for all I know. If it did, it was on late at night, and I never saw it. I've never actually seen an episode of The Twilight Zone. But it made him extremely successful. The trouble is that he was a very, very angry guy, a social activist. Somebody who was constantly in arguments with people over what was right, what should be done. And even when he was serving in the military during World War II, he was a very, very difficult guy to command. In fact, I think they put him in a bomb disposal unit or something in the hope that he might actually get blown up. That's how bad he was. And I think he became a boxer back then simply to work off his excess aggression. He was a fast talker. He was very, very bright. And when he came out of the military, he went into radio, started writing there, then into television, wrote for a bunch of shows, and eventually came up with The Twilight Zone, this science fiction legend, I guess, even though I've never seen it. But it was a major thing, which also promoted social issues. So he managed to get his voice across and be a social activist on television through the medium of science fiction. However, he also was a 4-pack-a-day smoker. And at the age of 50, he had a heart attack. Then another one. And then another one. And it was the other one. I think it was actually during a bypass operation that he died, or just after it. But it killed him. So I wasn't terribly interested in him, obviously, because I know nothing about him, but I went into the energy anyway. And when I did, he was sitting on what looked like a concrete beam that was sticking out of a hillside. I had no idea why. But it did seem like that was the end of his life right there. And he was sitting on it waiting to go somehow. And then I heard a kind of cracking sound, and he looked back, and the beam he was on was fracturing. And he did it in 3 goes, so that would link in with the heart attacks. Because he went, ooh, and he shuddered, and then, ooh, and it cracked, and then, ooh, and it came right off and dropped. And he went down and down and down, and landed at the entrance to a tunnel, but the entrance was weird. It was like black and absorbent. So that if he reversed into it, it sucked him in and enclosed him and enveloped him, and he just disappeared into it. I mean, it's tempting to say because he was a 4-pack-a-day smoker that it's tar, but I think that's too on the nose. However, he was sucked into it, and that was the end. Behind the entrance was a tunnel, but it really wasn't anything. There was nothing there. It was like a no man's land, a kind of wasteland of nothing, where he didn't know whether to stand up or sit down or go forward or go back. He was just at some kind of interstitial point. And then I thought, let's go into his consciousness and see what he's seeing, because he's not going anywhere. Let's see what he's perceiving through his consciousness. And when I went into it, when I kind of aligned with it, he reached up to the ceiling of this tunnel and pulled a flap down like a hatch. You know when people have access to their attic through a trapdoor type thing and a ladder comes out? There was no ladder, but the trapdoor was there, and he pulled it down, and beyond the trapdoor, all these objects were floating around, like cosmic objects. He had access to a higher level of understanding or just ideas even that the rest of us couldn't even get a handle on. It was there for him. He was one of those people, in the same way that I can do pictures and other people can't. He had this access point to inspiration All he had to do was pull down the flap, and there it was. But anyway, he was still in his tunnel. And I wonder if he died prematurely, a few minutes or a few hours too early, so he had to wait around for his time. But as I watched, the tunnel grew narrower, and he had trouble getting through to the end. Although it did bring him into that symbolic cave that I always see. But when he got through the hole and was in the metaphorical cave, there was something that I'd never seen before. There was a passageway off over there. And it had little tunnels off that, little offshoots. And he wanted to go there and explore. They didn't lead very far, actually, because I went and looked, and they were just sinewy, circuitous little passageways. But maybe that's the kind of brain he had. He would look at something and see 10 other things, and then 10 other things after that. But he could also feel the pull that there always is. There's a current that takes you up the tunnel, that leads you on, that draws you towards the light. Interestingly, as he walked along, he was really big in the surroundings. People who have a very high opinion of themselves on the mortal side, when they get to the spiritual side, are often quite small, as a reminder that nobody is special. Maybe this guy didn't even see himself as special. He was just a machine, an idea machine, producing scripts and stuff, and didn't really view himself as all that special. But he was big. And when he got to the top of the tunnel, he was still big. But I felt nothing. Just numb. Maybe he was such a workhorse that the head dominated, the mind dominated. Busy, 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 busy. And the heart, not so much. Because I felt nothing this whole time. Just curiosity. And it was curiosity that got him into the light. Let's just go. Let's see what happens. And in he went. So there was no awe or wonder beyond the curiosity about what this was and where this led and how could this be developed into a TV show or something. The rest was cold and numb somehow. That's not to say he wasn't a nice guy, but by all accounts he was a very angry one. So maybe he had to suppress and compress and constrict those emotions in his heart in order to survive and to thrive and to become the legend that he was. But that would also explain the heart attacks. Yes, smoking will do it, but in psychological terms, emotional terms, it's not really a surprise that he died of heart problems at the age of 50.